What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to continue to look at the threat for severe weather, including today and tomorrow. We do have a lot of updates here, two very large areas of enhanced risk for both day 1 and day 2. But without further ado, let's get in the forecast. So here's now a look here at the latest on National Weather Service. So we just got a area of severe thunderstorm watches across portions of north central Texas and as well portions of south central Arkansas or Oklahoma there. So far we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings, but of course we do have severe thunderstorm watches. Our first watched area so far today for severe weather events. And this includes areas in the DFW area and as well just in general south central Oklahoma. So if you are in this region here, all the way from central Texas to northeastern Texas and as well southern Oklahoma, you guys are now under a severe thunderstorm watch. There's going to be multiple more left to come here, and as well we do have medical discussions in some of these areas where we can possibly see a tornado watch here within the next few hours, as conditions will be likely for some scattered tornadoes, but the main day for tornadoes will be tomorrow. We have a 10% chance hatched for tomorrow for tornadoes, but we'll be looking at that later in the video here. But this is what we have so far in the National Weather Service, looking at possibly watches to be issued soon as well. Severe thunderstorm warning should be popping up within the next hour or so, as this cap is expected to break very soon and storms are going to start getting very, very severe. So we do have a medical discussion here for portions of southeastern Texas and as well portions of western Louisiana. We are looking at, of course, areas for a tornado watch likely, so we do have a probability of a 95% chance for a tornado watch to be likely here. We're looking at severe thunderstorm capable of producing tornadoes, damaging gusts, and hail are expected this afternoon and evening across portions of eastern Texas into western Louisiana, and that'll happen most likely into the evening hours. We will start to get some storms developing kind of to the west of the medical discussion within the next hour or so across central Texas, but they really won't get tornadic until mainly later in the evening hours here overnight across portions of Texas and Louisiana. And that's going to be the same threat here for tomorrow as these same storms kind of make their way toward the east here throughout Dixie Alley. And we go tomorrow afternoon and evening as well, watching for a very similar threat there in scenario. So again, we do have a 95% chance for a tornado watch to be issued across portions of eastern Texas and western Louisiana. And let's go ahead and check looking at our other medical discussion. So here's now another area where we have a medical discussion across portions of north central and as well northwestern Texas, right there outside of Wichita Falls there in far southwestern Oklahoma there. So really watching out possibly an 80% chance for a watch to be issued here, looking at possibly extreme and possibly giant hail. Look at that, giant hail risk up to 1 to possibly 3+ inch in diameter. So very large hail. So if you have any pets that are outside like cats or dogs or etc., whatever sort of pets you guys have that they are outside, I would recommend bring them inside, specifically if you live within this region here, because again we do have, I believe, a 30% chance hatch risk for hail in this region here near Atlas, Oklahoma there, and as well just in proportion there of the panhandle of Texas. So if you have any outside pets, please bring them outside because it can possibly be deadly hail towards small animals as well. If your cars are outside, please bring them in the garage. Just give them as much cover as possible here, so because there is going to be pretty extreme hail and you don't want to have any damage towards vehicles, etc., because it's going to be very large hail. You may actually maybe possibly getting the 4-inch size hail. I mean, last year it's going to be very high. KFS won't be too shabby, up to possibly 3,000 plus joule per kilogram as well. Looking at a dry line here kind of forming just to the west here where we had that medical discussion. So pretty good conditions towards the west, or sorry, towards the east here. Getting pretty good amounts of dew points as well, some pretty good temperatures in general, so pretty good conditions, and that's exactly what we have a medical discussion, but that's what we have so far. But let's go ahead now and look at the day 1 outlook. So this is a look now at the latest update here in the day 1 outlook, and we now have 2 areas of enhanced risk here. And of course, one is where we have the medical discussion there across portions of far southwestern Oklahoma and far northern portions of Texas. Again, that is, I believe, there a 30% chance hatched. Yep, exactly what I'm talking about there. So we have 2 areas of enhanced risk. One for the south central, including Oklahoma, Texas, and as well another one there for portions of western Dixie Alley, including Louisiana, portions of Mississippi there, and eastern Texas. So we have, in general, around 5.4 million people under this level 3 out of 5 there, including Oklahoma City, Baton Rouge, areas like Lafayette, Norman, and Wichita Falls, Texas. And we have a very large slight risk here, going all the way from portions of southern Alabama to as far west as portions there of north central Texas. And we have a very large area, including around 24 million people, which includes Houston, Dallas, Austin, Fort Worth, and New Orleans. So basically, DFW is right in between these enhanced risk here. So it's kind of like right in between the DFW area, just outside Houston there, just outside there, New Orleans. So it's kind of staying outside those big cities, except portions there of Oklahoma City, OKC just never gets spared sometimes. And we have a very large marginal, around 7.3 million people, and that's going to kind of be in the darker green area. So if you're in the dark green marginal, I really wouldn't be too worried about today's severe weather event. But you can possibly get some small hail, maybe some gusty winds there, but very small tornado threat, if any. So here's a look at the tornado probability. We don't have a 10% chance, so today really won't be a big tornado event. It looks like possibly tomorrow, though, has a way better chance for tornadoes. But here's now a look at what we have. Two very large, or actually two area of 5% chance for tornadoes. One very large, including much of the the southern portion of the Dixie Valley, and as well another smaller area right where the middle school discussion in southwestern Oklahoma and far north central Texas. So this small little area right here near Atlas, Oklahoma is kind of like they're going to possibly get some pretty concerning weather today. I mean, you guys are right kind of the edge and the enhancers, yet you do have almost the biggest probability for anything today. So pretty weird there. But we have around 5 million people under the 5% chance for tornadoes. So if you are under the 5%, I would definitely have a plan just in case here, because 5% chance, it sounds very low, but in general that's actually pretty high considering the fact that it only goes to a 60% chance here. So that's kind of a lot better chance than you think about a 5% out of 100. So basically it's kind of a weird number there, but looking at it, definitely possibly a scatter threat for tornadoes. We definitely will have at least one today, as long as things go as planned here. But we're not going to be seeing a massive outbreak. So if you live in there near Baton Rouge, Shreveport, Lafayette, Wichita Falls, and Lawton, I would definitely keep a very close eye on the severe weather today, specifically in these regions here towards the big large 5% chance, because this is exactly where to be overnight here. So definitely may consider sleeping in your basement, even though it's only a 5% chance. Still keep a very close eye on it, because a 5% chance sounds low, but in general it's a pretty decent chance considering which areas you live in. A 30% chance as well for the wind, and that's exactly why we do have, or that's one of the reasons why we have an enhanced risk for portions of Oklahoma. And of course, hail's the other reason. But we do have two areas with 30% chance, kind of one including the OKC area, and another area across Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. So this includes around 5.3 million people. Oklahoma City, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Norman, and Wichita Falls, Texas. You guys are one of the many cities there that are under those 30% chance for winds today. And it's not hatched, so we're still going to be seeing some pretty significant winds, but we're not actually having a SIG risk, at least for now. 50% chance here, around 19.6 million. So basically, we're almost at 20 million people under the 15% chance for winds. So very large area of slight risk probability for winds, and a very large risk there for 5%, including around 11 million people. And then the hail threat as well. It's kind of a little bit more limited there towards Tornado Alley, because this is kind of where we're seeing our higher lapse rates near 7, 8, and even 9. As we go to the east, lapse rates will kind of go down, specifically as we go overnight. So we do have a very large area at significant severe risk, and that actually includes DFW. So DFW, you guys may not get, it may not be under an enhanced risk, but you are still under a 15% chance SIG, which I believe happened last time, and you guys, I think, got basically nothing there. But 50% chance SIG for DFW, and as well portions there as far south as Austin. But we also have a 30% chance SIG, including areas such as Wichita Falls, Texas, Lawton, Oklahoma, Duncan, Oklahoma, Atlas, Oklahoma, and Chickasha, Oklahoma. So you guys are there in the area that I just mentioned, that red. You guys are under the 30% chance SIG for hail. So monster hail again. We do have a medical discussion there for possibly 3+ inch size hail. And then we do have areas in the 15% chance non-hatched, includes areas such as Houston, as well actually not Fort Worth. Sorry, you guys are actually in the SIG, and as I believe Oklahoma's right on the edge of that SIG risk. And then of course, let's now go ahead and look at day 2. So we do have a new update for day 2. We have a very large enhanced risk here, including portions of the deep southeast, like areas like Savannah, Georgia, and as well portions there near Tallahassee. But we do have around 6 million people under this level 3 enhanced risk. This includes big cities like Birmingham, Montgomery, Columbus, Tallahassee, and Savannah. It's actually not that far from Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm actually now deep into the slight risk. The slight risk has now moved up far to the north here now, basically near the southern portion there of Tennessee, and made its way towards areas like Raleigh, very close to the Raleigh region. Speed of slight risk, and now includes around 19 million people, including Jacksonville, Atlanta, Georgia, Mobile, Huntsville, and Gainesville, Florida. And marginal risk, including around 13.7 million people, which includes Memphis, Charlotte, New Orleans, Raleigh, and Durham. So again, we do have a pretty potent threat for tornadoes tomorrow here. 10% chance to hatch. So that's including areas that I actually mentioned, I believe, in yesterday's video: southwestern Georgia, southeastern and central Alabama. And I actually did not think to mention Florida, but we actually do have a 10% chance hatched just to the north of Tallahassee there. I think Tallahassee is just a few miles away from that hatch risk, but we do have, in general, a pretty large 10%, including Savannah, Georgia. So the 10% chance hatched does include areas such as Montgomery, Columbus, Albany, Georgia, Dothan, and Auburn, Alabama. So if you're in those areas, I would definitely have a plan for tomorrow. You guys are under a pretty good probability there for tornadoes. This is definitely going to be the day out of this week here to have tornadoes, and of course, really watching out for day 5. But out of the 2 days, today and tomorrow, this is definitely going to be the day to see tornadoes and possibly strong tornadoes, specifically across areas like southwestern Georgia and southeastern Alabama. And sadly, that's including the area, the Damascus tornado, I believe 2 months ago, something like that. The strong was it EF3? I think it was EF3, the Damascus tornado. That's exactly where we had the 10% chance hatch. So let's just hope nothing happens anywhere, specifically those areas. And the 10% chance non-hatched include around 6 million people, which obviously includes areas like Birmingham, includes Columbus, Georgia, includes Tallahassee. Columbus is in the hatch risk. It includes Tallahassee, which is not in the hatch, and includes Savannah, Georgia, which is not in the hatch. And we have a 5% chance, pretty large 5% chance, including the Atlanta metro areas. So if you are in the 5%, definitely keep a very close eye on the potential for a small probability for tornadoes, but still, again, it's still considering the threat that we have had a lot of tornadoes. Under a 5% chance, you just want to keep a close eye on it. But of course, we do have around 8 million people in that 5%. Wind threat, pretty large, 30% there, and that's exactly why we do have an enhanced risk. Because as these supercells kind of form across Alabama, Florida, and southwestern Georgia, they kind of become more like, I guess, a squall line once they get towards Savannah, in areas like in areas like Charleston and Jacksonville. So that's kind of, we have a pretty good threat for winds across Columbus, Georgia, Savannah, Macon, Albany, and Warner Robins, and as well a pretty very large hail threat. Some pretty decent last years. Again, we actually have a 30% chance hatched for about a lot of people here, but in general, the significant severe risk for hail includes around 6.1 million people, including Birmingham, Montgomery, Mobile, Columbus, Georgia, and Tallahassee, Florida. And the 30% chance hatch risk includes around 4 million people, which includes Birmingham, Montgomery, Columbus, Tuscaloosa, and Albany. And a 15% chance includes around Jacksonville, Atlanta, Georgia, Mobile, and Tallahassee. So some pretty big days ahead. And of course, we also have the day 5 risk. So here's our latest look at the day 5, and it continues to increase here. This 15% chance continues to expand, not only to the south, not only to the west, but even to the north here. So now it includes a ton of areas. It's actually basically near the border of Mexico. It actually hashed it to the south a little bit. I think it's stayed mainly the same for the northern areas, but it definitely has extended quite a bit here. So very large 50% chance, which means slight risk. So we have a very large slight risk. So there's definitely a very good chance we will at least have an enhanced risk by the time this gets to day 2, most likely, and maybe even watching out for the probability for a moderate risk. There's very, very great conditions for the tornado alley for Tuesday in the early week here. So keeping a very close eye on that. But let's go ahead and now talk about today and tomorrow. So within the next few hours here, within the next hour or so, storms will start to pop up here across portions of the South Central, specifically, of course, portions of South Central and Central Texas in general. We're going to start seeing that cap breaking. I mean, we're seeing a really high cap right now, but that will rapidly break off very, very soon here within the less than the next hour or so. That's going to allow for some pretty severe storms to just continue to blow up here again. We're seeing some pretty high Cape values, a lot of moisture. I mean, we're having as well some pretty good amounts of shear. So what's going to be stopping these storms once this cap doesn't break? And it's exactly going to be the answer: nothing will. So pretty strong storms there, really gusty winds, as well as some pretty monster-sized hail there across portions of eastern Texas here. Going to be really watching out mainly for the windstorms in the early hours. And then I go later on overnight. Really going to be watching out for some scattered supercells across portions of the western and central Oklahoma, portions of northern Texas, and as well possibly some scattered supercells across eastern Texas once we get later in the deep overnight hours here. But let's see some pretty gusty winds here, possibly pretty intense squall line across Mississippi there, Louisiana overnight here. But I mean, these are going to be pretty scattered, nothing too crazy tornado wise. There could be a few supercells that could possibly bring in tornadoes, but again, nothing at the moment too concerning. I mean, at least for tornado outbreak wise, of course, we are going to be seeing some scattered tornadoes, as you will have some scattered storms that could possibly be severe, but of course, nothing too concerning at the moment. Let's now go ahead and now get a look now at tomorrow here for portions of the southeast. As we now get later here into tomorrow, early in the morning here, some pretty intense rain as well, possibly some pretty big flooding threats across Alabama and Mississippi there. Really keep a close eye on there if you live near creeks or rivers that are already over the flooding stage here, because that's definitely going to bring in possibly at least 5 inches of rain here within the next 24 hours. A pretty intense squall line across Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. Going to really watch out for some pretty intense gusty winds. But you're probably wondering, how is this going to be a big tornado threat? Well, it's because here, although we're going to be seeing some pretty intense winds, we're going to be seeing some pretty scattered supercells on the backside of the storm here. So you can kind of see in the early morning hours, 11 a.m., possibly into the early afternoon, that first squall is going to move in. I mean, nothing too crazy tornadoes, just that wind, which is why we have that 30% chance. But you look at the backside here in the evening hours and the early afternoon, some pretty intense supercells possibly on the backside there, including southern and central Alabama, as well portions there of Georgia. Look at these supercells all kind of clumped together from northwestern Florida, southwestern Georgia, and as well southeastern Alabama. You kind of see a ton of supercells kind of developing near Dothan, near Macon, Columbus, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, as well near the areas in the Panhandle, Florida. So keeping a very close eye on possibly where some scattered supercells across these regions in the afternoon hours and evening hours of tomorrow. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the Cape values for the next few hours here across South Central. And you can kind of see at least the next hour some pretty good Cape values across the state of Texas here. And it's going to continue to increase into Oklahoma later in the evening or later in the next few hours. But as we now get into around the next here 3 hours or so, we're going to start getting some really high Cape values, over 3,000 joules per kilogram there across central and northern Texas. So going to really keep a close eye out there on where you have the 30% chance SIG for hail. We're seeing some pretty intense Cape values there. But as we now go later on now into tomorrow, some pretty good Cape values there across Dixie Valley. So even by noon tomorrow, some pretty good Cape values all the way up down to the Gulf Coast, up to over almost nearly 3,000 joules per kilogram already at noon. And then in the early afternoon hours there, where we're watching for this potential severe weather in southern Alabama, we're going to be seeing nearly 4,000 joules per kilogram. So keeping a very, very close eye on that as we now go in the evening hours. Some pretty good Cape values there across specifically Alabama and Florida. So going to kind of be a little iffy there for southwestern Georgia, as we're going to be kind of be seeing a little on the lower side there for Cape. Let's now go look at the supercell composite parameter, measuring the probability of supercells, and you can kind of see with the next hour or so, we're going to be a little on the lower side for Texas again. We're not going to be seeing supercells jumping from the start, but within the next few hours, then we've got a little bit better conditions there, specifically there for portions of southwestern Oklahoma and north central Texas. There we actually have already a 16.5 within the next 3 hours already there on the supercell composite scale. And then we get to now 8 o'clock Eastern, so 7 o'clock Central, going to get up to a 23 there, basically just near the Alice area there in far north central Texas. Not really too familiar with any cities there. And as you now get to 10 o'clock, going to get up to a 30 on the scale there for north central Texas. But as you can kind of see, not going to be seeing anything too crazy for east central Texas or anything near Louisiana. I mean, maybe a little bit in the overnight hours, we can get up to maybe some teens, but not going to be anything too crazy. Supercell wise, going to be mainly the gusty winds, and I'd say possibly as well daytime flooding. But let's now go ahead to tomorrow early in the morning here, 11 a.m. Some pretty good number, or in the late morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. So you see some decent numbers there super on the supercell composite. But of course, like I did say in the morning, in the early afternoon, it's going to be that wind threat. But as we now get to now in the 5 o'clock time period, we're going to get some scattered numbers there that can get over the teens across portions of south central and southeastern Alabama. Some scattered areas of over 10 to possibly as high as maybe 15. But supercell composite numbers aren't as high as they were yesterday. But let's now go and check a look now at the very important one, the significant tornado parameter. Going to get like I just say, nothing too crazy. Once this cap breaks and these first storms develop, they really won't be too crazy. We're gonna get a little bit on the lower side there, up to maybe a 5 near southwestern Oklahoma, but in general, we're gonna be seeing some scattered 1s to 3s across the state of Texas. As we now get later on now to the next, I believe, the next the next 4 hours, we will get a pretty big number there to a 7.7, where we have that 30% chance for winds there, and as well a 5% chance for tornadoes. So keeping a very close eye on that for this little area here, southwestern Oklahoma and north central Texas. We're really watching out for this area here for today. If there's going to be any tornadoes, there most likely will happen here. You can kind of see some lower numbers, 3 to 5s in southeastern Texas and southwestern Louisiana. As in, again, in the overnight hours, we're going to be seeing a big jump in numbers, and this is not going to be anything. We're not going to be seeing a big tornado outbreak for central Texas today. We're going to get up to 11, but they're only getting these numbers this high because the conditions are almost perfect. So they're reading some really good Cape values, reading some good humidity levels, reading good temperature. So it kind of gives a pretty big number considering the factors, but they're not considering the fact that cap's going to increase once again here. And by the time it's 11 o'clock Eastern and 10 o'clock Central, these storms are going to be way to the east here. I mean, over here in Dixie Alley, so this is just not going to happen. We're not going to be seeing any big tornadoes in central Texas today, at least what we know. But let's now go look at the significant tornado parameter for tomorrow, and these numbers are going to be a lot more reasonable. So let's go ahead and look at 3 o'clock here. You can kind of see Eastern time and then Central time. You can kind of see some pretty good numbers there popping up across Alabama. Going to get up to a 9 in the south central portion of the state there, and some widespread upper single digits and lower teens. As well, going to get a pretty good number there near the Big Bend. And actually a really good number there just outside Tallahassee, up to a 13.2 there. So there's going to be some scattered areas where you can see some supercells in the evening and afternoon hours across the southeast, where you could actually see pretty good chances for tornadoes there. Going to get as well some scattered decent numbers there, anywhere from a 5 to possibly a 7 across eastern Alabama. As well, going to get up to a 16 on the scale there just outside Tallahassee. So really watching out for portions of the Panhandle, Florida, southeastern Alabama, and southwestern Georgia. You can kind of see some decent numbers there carrying on now near the, I believe, the Okefenokee Swamp there in south central Georgia, up to a 12 on the scale. And then those numbers kind of rapidly die off here. But I'm going to really keep a close eye on there. Let me show you just something very, very quickly here. Let me actually go towards statewide. Let me actually go to Florida very, very quickly here, so we can kind of get a look here what we're going to be seeing for the Panhandle, because that's kind of where we're seeing our highest numbers. Let's now go to now 3, 5 o'clock here, and see some pretty good numbers up to the upper single digits there, up to 8 or 9, and even as high to 10. And we're getting some pretty good numbers. You see up to a 16 point, almost a 17 there in downtown Tallahassee. So if you live in Tallahassee, if you live in the Panhandle region, if you live where we have that 10% chance hatch, like I did say in the beginning of the video, please have a plan there. I mean, it's not going to guarantee a tornado, but I'll definitely keep a very close eye, because you guys have the best probability for having at least one tornado within 25 miles of that region. So keep a very close eye on it, have a plan. And this is going to kind of happen in the early, kind of mid-afternoon and throughout the evening, and not overnight, but kind of getting toward 8, 9 o'clock. So good thing is it won't really be an overnight threat, but still have a plan there in case you get a tornado warning or if there is a tornado on the ground. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video there. I cannot stream today. I do apologize for that, but I'm hoping to stream tomorrow. But I may have plans. I'm not really sure there, but I'll let you guys know tomorrow whether I'm going to stream on day 2's event. But without further ado, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.